I'm going to talk about the forms of the verbs and how to conjugate the verbs. In a text, you might have, for instance, the text in present tense, so the verbs are mainly in present tense, and you could be asked to find the past tense, dative, of the verbs. You might be lucky enough to have a list that will give you the past tense of the verbs, and then for some of them there's only a 1 or a 2, and for others they're written out in the full. And what does these 1 or 2 mean, and how do you know what to do? So 1 and 2 are referring to første gruppe, first group, anden gruppe, second group, and the third group that are irregular verbs, in Danish called stærkt bøjede verber. Looking at the verbs in a table like this, it makes sense to start from infinitive form, which is in Danish navnemåde, because this is the form that you will find in the dictionary. But it also makes sense to start with the root form, which is also the imperative form, the order form, because this is the shortest form of the verbs, and this is the one that in my system here, this form plus whatever is up here makes the form you have here. So, for instance, this word snak. So you add e. So right now you don't have to think about the double K. It is explained down here, and it's something you will get to at a later point. So you have this root form, snak, and for the infinitive form you have to add an e, snakke. For the present form, nutid, you have to add er, snakker. Past tense, dativ, you add ede, so it becomes snakket. It's a soft d. For present perfect in Danish, før nutid, you add et, and then you also have to use a helping verb, which can be either har or could be er, and there are also other possibilities, but they're not mentioned here. So you have to use har or er, mainly har, and then the root form plus the et. So for instance, har snakket, have talked. This is what we're going to talk about right now. We're not going to talk about these two forms right now. Another verb, ring, to call. So this is the imperative form, ringe. The infinitive form can be used with at or without at, depending on the context. But in either way, you still have to add an e here. Present tense, ringer. Jeg ringer til dig i morgen. I'll call you tomorrow. And since we're still in group 1, the past tense of the verb is ringede, so adding ede, and over here adding et again to the root form. So if your verb is a first group verb, you add ede in past tense and you add et in present perfect. And that goes for all group 1 verbs. I think this is simply why they are group 1. This is the most frequent way to make past tense in Danish. Way number 2 is group number 2. So again you have the root form plus an e, so tal in the root form, roden, which is also the imperative, like the order form. Then tale with an e. Jeg taler, present tense. Jeg taler dansk. Jeg taler meget. Past tense you add te, because this is what you do for the group 2 one. The group 2, tailed. So this t does not sound like a real t. It sounds like a hard d, tailed. And over here in the present perfect form, again you have to use either har or er, and you have to add a t, so har talt. The third group is the group, as I said, of the irregular ones, and they are very, very irregular. But one thing that is regular for almost all of them is they also have an e here in this form, and they also have er, or at least r in present tense. So it's mainly in past tense and present perfect that they are very irregular. And the irregularities can be almost anything. Could be that they have a completely new stem, or that they don't add anything for past tense. So you have to learn these. So when you learn a new verb, you have to learn these. So, and what do you do then if you don't have a table like this already? Then of course you use a dictionary. And the dictionary if you type snakke and you want to find out how to make past tense. So what it says here is, because the dictionary gives you the infinitive form, so the form with the E. Then you here conjugation, you add an R for present tense, or you add DE for past tense, or you add a T for present perfect, or another verb here, C, which is a group 3 verb, irregular one. So the conjugation here, so you add an R for present tense. This is the past tense it's written out, so say. And the present perfect, they don't mention the ha, because it comes with all of the verbs, so they just mention this form, sagt. A very nice extra feature is that you can hear the verbs, which is for this one that nobody ever remembers, but you can actually listen to it here. So if you're working on a text and the text asks you to find the verbs in past tense, and the text, for instance, already has a table that says the past tense, but only 1 or 2 for for some of the verbs in past tense, then you know that you have to write here kigget. So why didn't I just write kigget in the first place? Of course it is because I want you to learn the system. It's called number 1. It's called first group because it's a large group, so it's worth learning by heart that kigget is the past tense of a verb, kigge.